struggle with negatives and BIDMAS, we'll fix it today. We'll add and subtract negatives, we'll go over the sign rules, we'll do powers with negatives and more. So first of all, we're going to be going over adding and subtracting with negative numbers. So the first question is minus 7 plus 12, but this is the same as 12 minus 7, so that is just equal to 5, so the answer would be 5. However, we can also check this on the number line, so we can do negative 7 and 12, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that is 5. So the number line is a good way of how to check your answer. Okay, so the next question is 9 minus 14. So to do this, you work out the difference between 14 and 9, which is 5. And as you know that you're taking away a bigger number, you know it's going to be negative. So it must be negative 5. However, you can also use a number line to work this out. So you can do 9 minus 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. As you can see, we get minus 5. So for minus 6, minus 8, we'd add the numbers together to get 14. However, we know it's going to be a negative number, as we're doing a negative number take away a number, so it's going to be negative 14 rather than positive. Again, you could use a number line to check this, but I'm not going to do this time. Okay, so the next question is negative 3 plus negative 9. So whenever you have a positive and a minus, or a minus and a positive, that is the same as minus. So those two signs equal a minus sign. So the negative 3 plus negative 9 would be the same as negative 3 minus 9. So we'd add the 9 and the 3 to get 12, but we know it's going to be a negative, so it must be negative 12. Okay, next question. 15 minus negative 4. Well, whenever we have two negatives together, that always equals a positive. So for 15 minus negative 4, that is the same as 15 plus 4, and that is equal to 19. So the answer would be 19. Okay, so we're now going to be multiplying and dividing negative numbers. Okay, so if you have a negative and a negative number, that always equals a positive number. But if you have a negative and a positive number, or a positive and negative number, that would equal a negative number. So knowing these rules, let's answer these questions. So negative 3 multiplied by 4, where I do 3 multiplied by 4, which is 12, and we know it's going to be negative 12, as there's only one negative sign. Okay, so negative 5 multiplied by negative 6, we know it's going to be positive as we have a negative and a negative, so it's going to be positive, and then 5 multiplied by 6 is 30. Okay, so 28 divided by 7, that would be 4, but because there's only one negative sign, it's going to be negative 4. Okay, so negative 56 divided by negative 8. Well, I know it's going to be a positive because they are two negative. So then we'll just do 56 divided by 8, which is 7. Okay, part E. So for this question, we are doing more than one operation. But because it's both multiplication, we can do it in order. So negative 2 multiplied by negative 3. Well, they're two negatives, so that would become positive. And 2 multiplied by 3, that is 6. So now we can do 6 multiplied by 4, which would be 24. Okay, so next question. Again, we have two steps, but it's division and multiplication, so we can just do it in order. So minus 30 divided by 5, well, that would be minus 6, because it's a negative divided by a positive, so it's going to be a negative, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. So now we do minus 6 multiplied by minus 2, and because it's two negatives, that becomes a positive, so it would just be 12. Okay, so I'm now going to be going over the difference between minus 5 squared and minus 5 in brackets squared. So with minus 5 squared, we are basically squaring the 5. So it'd be 5 squared, which is 25, but there's a negative sign in front, so it'd be negative 25. So if we think about it like this, say we had x minus 5 squared, and if we think of BIDMAS, so it'd be the indices first, and then it'd be the subtraction. So it'd basically be x minus the 5 squared, which is 25. So it's x taking away the 5 squared. So it'd be x minus 25. And then with minus 5 squared, we are basically squaring what's inside the brackets. So it'd be minus 5 squared, and minus 5 multiplied by minus 5 would be positive 25. So that's why it's so important when you're writing it on the calculator to have it with the brackets or without the brackets, depending on what it actually is. Okay, now have a go at these yourself, then come back to watch the solutions. Okay, so minus 3 in the brackets squared, we're squaring what's in the brackets, so it'd be minus 3 squared, which is 9. And then for minus 3 squared, we are squaring the 3, which is 9, and then there's a minus in front, so it'd be minus 9, as you're subtracting the 9. Okay, minus 2 to the power of 4. We are doing the power of 4 to what's in the bracket, which is minus 2. So that is the same as minus 2 multiplied by minus 2, multiplied by minus 2, multiplied by minus 2. So first of all, minus 2 multiplied by minus 2, that is 4. So then we still have multiplied by minus 2 and multiplied by minus 2. So we can do the other side as well. So minus 2 multiplied by minus 2, that is also 4. So therefore it is the same as 16. So minus 2 to the power of 4 would be 16. However, minus 2 without brackets to the power of 4, we'd be doing 2 to the power of 4, which is 16. But then we need to remember that there's a minus sign in front, so it'd be minus 16. So hopefully that made sense. If not, write a comment down below what exactly you're struggling with, and I can help you out. So you need to remember when it's inside the brackets, you're squaring what's inside the brackets, but when there are no brackets, you're just squaring the number and putting the minus sign in front. Okay, so I'm now going to be going over BIDMAS, which is the order that we do the operations in. So B stands for brackets, I stands for indices, D stands for division, M stands for multiplying, A stands for adding, and S stands for subtracting. However, division and multiply, you just do it in the order it's in, and adding and subtracting, you just do it in the order they're in. So if we have 6 minus 2 multiplied by 4, let's look at BIDMAS. So from BIDMAS, we do the multiplying first. So we do 2 multiplied by 4, which would be 8. So it'd be 6 minus 8, which would be minus 2. And then the next question, we have brackets and then multiplying. So we do the brackets first, which would be 4, and 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. So as you can see with the first two questions, it's the same numbers, but we just have brackets in it. So the brackets can really change, as you can see, it's changed the answer. We have 16 rather than minus 2. Okay, next question. So let's do the brackets first. So it'd be the 3 multiplied by 2, which is 6, and 18 divided by 6 is 3. Okay, so part D, we have adding and we have multiplying. So we'll do the multiplying first. So 5 multiplied by negative 2, that would be negative 10. So it'd be 3 plus negative 10, which would be negative 7. Okay, so now we have subtracting and we have brackets. So as you can see, we've got a pair of brackets inside another pair of brackets. So let's do this set of brackets first. So 4 minus 7, that would be negative 3. So we would have 20 minus brackets 3 multiplied by the negative 3. So again, we'd do the brackets first. So it'd be 20 minus 3 multiplied by minus 3, which would be minus 9. But as you can see, we have a negative and a negative, so that would become a positive. So it'd be 20 plus 9, which is equal to 29. Okay, so part F, this one's slightly trickier, but as long as you do it step by step, then you shouldn't go wrong. So we have in brackets, we have 8 minus, then we have another brackets, 2 plus 3 multiplied by brackets minus 4, close brackets, another close brackets, divided by 2. So first of all, we're not going to worry about the divided by 2, as that is outside all of the brackets, so that's the last thing we'll do. So first of all, let's worry about the brackets inside the brackets. So the first thing we'll do is the 3 multiplied by the negative 4, as we're doing what's inside of the brackets inside of the brackets, and we do multiplication before we do adding. So we'll do the 3 multiplied by negative 4, which would be a negative 12. So and now we can do the 2 minus the 12, because a positive and a negative becomes a negative. So 2 minus 12, that would be minus 10. So now we can do 8 minus minus 10, which becomes 8 plus 10. And 8 plus 10, that is 18. So now we can do 18 divided by 2, which is 9. So the final answer would be 9. A common mistake would be to divide this by 2 and then do 8 minus that answer. But that would be incorrect, as this is another set of brackets. So make sure you don't make that mistake. Okay, so we're now going to do some quick worded questions. So have a go yourself, then come back to check the solutions. So the first question is, it's negative 3 degrees Celsius in the morning and rises by 7 degrees Celsius. What is the new temperature? So what we are basically doing is negative 3 plus 7. So that would be 7 minus 3, which is 4. So the final answer would be 4. Okay, next question. Bank balance is minus £25. You pay in £40. What is the new balance? So this time we are doing minus 25 add 40, as minus 25 is the starting amount and we are adding £40. So we'd basically do 40 minus 25, as that is the same thing. So 40 minus 25, that is going to be 15. So the final answer would be £15. Okay, next question. A freezer is at minus 18 degrees Celsius. It warms by 12 degrees Celsius, then cools by 7 degrees Celsius. What is the final temperature? So for this question, you'd basically go through what it is telling you. So you would do minus 18, and then you do add 12, as if it warms by 12 degrees, it is increasing by 12 degrees. And then it cools by 7 degrees, so it decreases by 7 degrees. So you do minus 18 plus 12 minus 7. So minus 18 plus 12, that would be minus 6. So it'd be minus 6 minus 7, and minus 6 minus 7 would be minus 13. As 6 plus 7 is 13, then you stick the minus sign in front. So it'd be minus 13 degrees Celsius. Okay, so the final question is a challenge involving BIDMAS and negative numbers. So have a go yourself, then come back to look at the solution. So first of all, whenever you're doing a long question like this, you think of BIDMAS, and the first thing in BIDMAS is brackets. So let's do the brackets first. So the first set of brackets is 3 multiplied by minus 4, which is minus 12. So we know that inside the brackets, we now have minus 12, and it is minus 12 squared. So that becomes 144, as you are squaring what's inside the brackets, which is minus 12. So now we can do the brackets over here. So we are doing minus 2 cubed. So we do minus 2 multiplied by minus 2 multiplied by minus 2, as it's inside the brackets. So minus 2 multiplied by minus 2 is 4, multiplied by minus 2 again, that would be minus 8. So we now have, instead of this, we have minus 8. So let's rewrite the question down here. So we have 12 minus 144 divided by 6, add negative 8. So now let's simplify this. So what we do next is division, as division comes before adding and subtracting. So we'd have 12 minus whatever 144 divided by 6 is. So 6 goes into 14 twice and would have a remainder of 2, and 6 goes into 24 4 times, so it'd be 24. So if you couldn't work that out in your head, you'd have to use the bus stop method. So let's quickly check that by doing the bus stop method. So 6 into 144. So 6 goes into 1 0 times, has a remainder of 1. 6 goes into 14 twice, has a remainder of 2. And 6 goes into 24 4 times. So it'd be 24, which is what I got. So 12 minus 24 minus 8, as when you're plussing a negative, it becomes negative. So now we can just do it in order, because it's all subtracting, which is the same level of order. So 12 minus 24 would be minus 12. And then we have minus 12 minus 8, and that would become minus 20. As 12 add 8 is 20, but it's going to be a negative. So the final answer would be minus 20.